Hello everyone, this is Kazapniak, and today I'm here with another video. I don't know why I paused for a while, but that's okay. And it's about a journey of mine. So, you see, back in December I decided I was going to do my very best to do really, really well this season for someone who doesn't want to play a lot of major tournaments. And so I went to one regional, and until around April or May, until the Ace Trainer program was revealed to everyone, I had only gone to about 5 or 6 League Cups, and I did almost no challenges as well, and I wanted to see how well I could do. Um, and so I wanted to play a couple of fun decks to get there, like Blissey. I wanted to see if there was still some room for me to hit a 100-point barrier, and I ended up hitting that in December, and then we got Ace Trainer for 200 points, and now I needed a lot more League Cups and a lot less major tournaments to go to get there. And so this is my journey to do my best to get to Ace Trainer. On that note, I would also like to wish everyone a happy Pride Month and a happy end to the 2024-25 Pokemon season. I hope you guys are all having a great time. I know many of you have gone out and won your last League Cups of the season, and it's great to see all of that. With that, let's get going. Again, before we go subscribe or like the video. I would really appreciate it, and that would actually help us get over another milestone, get me out to more people, and hopefully grow this channel to be bigger than the sum of its parts. With that, let's begin. So we're going to talk about Terra Pokemon a lot. We're going to talk about where I began my journey, finding the Ace Trainer, whatnot, where I decided to go with the information that I've gathered, what I ended up doing in order to try and get my Ace Trainer, and the takeaways that we're going to keep onto it. So first off is a major question here. The standoff between two good engines. What do I mean by that? Well, there is a couple of rules that I have for decks in this format that I want to follow, and a lot of them require a lot of energy or a lot of card flow, and so there were two major ways that I could go about doing that, and I want to talk about both of them for you really quick. So first, let's look at the meta breakdown. This is a graphic from Kansan Games, one of my local card stores, and one also known to be host for Rowan Stavenow, the 2015 Pokemon World Champion, as a sponsor. And so from the meta breakdown, you'll see the top two decks in representation were Dragapult and Gardevoir, no big surprise, big stage 2 decks, big scary. Then Archaludon is also there. There's a couple of big basic decks, but nothing that has too ridiculous of HP and no one-prizer decks. If you look through the entire graphic, not a single one-prizer deck other than technically, I guess you can count Roaring Moon, but the Roaring Moon that was played at this event was a 3 Roaring Moon EX list with a double Pesharunt and Janines and a lot of other crazy stuff. But basically, you either evolve and are really frail, or you don't evolve, you're pretty tanky, but you don't really have any ways to stick around for too long, and you have no great one-prize options. Yes, I know, Raging Bolt's an anomaly. However, I felt as though against Raging Bolt players in our area, just based on the players that I know I would be playing against on Raging Bolt, and because I knew that these cups were before Christian Lobella would go on to win one of the biggest tournaments of all time with Raging Bolt, I figured that it wasn't going to be a deck that I would have to do too much work in matchup preparedness for 100% optimal play, and I felt like I would be able to adapt to misplays or shortcomings based on variance across the games, especially because a lot of our events here do go into best of 3 top cut, and I also figured, well, I can sit back. If I lose to one deck in Swiss, that's okay, I can still get to top cut, and I can win from there. So I accepted that Raging Bolt would be a really difficult matchup for me, and I accepted a couple of takeaways from that. One, you have to either outspeed the meta through things like Raging Bolt or Joltik, which goes just a little bit ahead of the curve of the meta for the evolving decks, or you have to outmaneuver those big basic decks through things like Bolt and Gardevoir to make massive comebacks, disrupt their game plan, and ruin their field. I also noted that you have to do it really consistently. I noted that you have to have an adaptable game plan 100% of the time in order to deal with what your opponent is doing, especially if you want to play a meta deck and you don't know what the meta prediction are. having a lot of variable game plans that are very linear and obvious to me, especially for how little practice I had before going into these events, was needed. And targeted removal, things like spread damage or boss's orders, is really, really good. I really stressed this point with a lot of people who I'm going to call testing partners, but we really just talked about the metagame a bit, and we all agreed. Testing for bosses and spread damage, really, really good, and we wanted to find a way to abuse that as much as possible. So, Blissey vs. Noctowl. What do these cards do, and why were they my main considerations here? Well, Noctowl has the ability to, if you have a Terra Pokemon in play, search your deck for 2 cards, put them in your hand, shuffle your deck. That makes really consistent finds for Crispin, your Ace specs, things like that, to really put yourself ahead. But I felt like it didn't really flow through your deck all that much, and you were very vulnerable to different types of disruption, in particular Iono and Unfair Stamp. If you do a really good turn on your turn 2, and your opponent is a Dragapult, and they sit there, and then they Unfair Stamp you, you kind of lose the game on the spot if you don't get really lucky, and you aren't able to get a Fezandipiti down right away, or if you're not able to literally bench 4 Hoot Hoot and have 4 Noctowl in the deck. So, instead of worrying about that, I turned over to Blissey. And this was before Control Blissey was a very good deck that I built my deck, and I still think that this aggro version of Blissey is very fun, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but once during your turn you may move a basic energy from one Pokemon to another. That means that if you use things like Teal Mask Ogerpon's Teal Dance, you can accelerate the energy and move them where you need to be. It doesn't matter where your energy go, as long as they get on the field, you have full control over your field. So why I started with Blissey is very simple. You don't really need items to chain attacks once you have your Teal Dance out and once you have Crispins and things like that. Your late game is very easy and very linear. You are so flexible in mid-round because no matter what you do, you can move anything anywhere. Your sequencing doesn't really matter because in late game, you can move what you want anywhere. Your turn 1 on field looked ridiculous. I ran the researches and the Crispins and the Squawkabilly, and you were just able to pour cards out of your hand, and it was so fun, and you had a massive field. It was beautiful. But if you got Badooed, it was a little bit of a problem, but we'll get to that. And it was also tanky as all heck. You are a 300 HP Pokemon, and a lot of big guys cannot deal with that. So if you don't have an attacker for a matchup, you can just be really tanky, draw cards, and be okay with it. I also did it for the fun, because I called the deck Pink Terror Club, and I think that is still hilarious. So here's my first edition of the deck. We have Lillie's Clefairy, Wellspring Ogerpon, Teal Mask Ogerpon, and Pikachu as our main 4 attackers. In addition to that, we also have a Mew-EX in order to do some genome hacking shenanigans, Munkidori for the Dragapult matchup so that you can set up some really silly KOs with your Mew-EX in late game. We also had 3-2 Blissey. We were using Lucky Bonus because sometimes flipping heads, if you get a Chansey off prizes, it just wins you the game. And also, even if you don't, you're still getting a Chansey from the prizes, automatically benching it, and then you can evolve into Blissey next turn. It keeps your chain much more reliable in late game. The big things that I want to note with this list and where it went wrong is that whilst it was a really good deck, and I did top 8 2 cups with this 60, one of them being a 5th place by resistance and not a top 4 cut, I really struggled to get out consistent, reliable, mid-game attackers that don't need 3 energy and can rely on just Blissey, or can go Terra Crystal plus attach, or in late game, when you're out of your trumpets and you don't have Crispins left and your Ogerpons had to be discarded, what did you do? And that was a good question. What did you do? And I never found an answer to that because I was very silly. I know that you have Terapagos, I know you have Blood Moon Ursaluna, and I know you have Glass Trumpets, and I just didn't put them in. That is my fault. I didn't really explore this deck thoroughly, but I do recommend you guys explore it, because on turn 1 you can still do ridiculous stuff, especially if you add in some Crispins. You got your energy switches, you can move your energy around to turn 1, you can do Pikachu or Wellspring turn 1 going second, it is so fun. But that is my first version of the deck, you just set up a big field and you had everything on field to deal with everything if you could get there. And honestly, you were so reliant on your Pokeballs and your Earthen Vessels and your Energy Switch, Budew just locked you out. You also had no answer for walls, which is why I came up with another 60. This one, I got the Psychic Energy because I was like, okay, in Dragapult, I'm just going to genome hacking with Munkidori and just wipe their field. And that worked okay. That was honestly not really that big of a problem. I was doing okay with it. And Tropius was really good for dealing with Giraffe and Bravery Charm Cornerstone. It also moves all your energy to a bench Pokemon, but then you have Blissey to move it back. So you're just charging multiple attackers at once. It is so fun. You could also use a Carnivine, but I'll explain the Carnivine a little bit later, but it's kind of gross, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, we also went up to 4 Crispin because the Crispin was just ridiculous. Every game I hit Crispin, I just won automatically. This deck was very fun. But again, I had no good, like 1 or 2 energy attacking options, and I didn't really want to gamble with that when I need effectively a first or second place cup because all of my other cups were top 8s, all my challenges were top 4s, and I had no other way. If I got a top 4 at a cup, another top 4, because I already had 1, I would have had 199 out of 200 points. That's not good. So, I decided I needed to pivot. This deck list was good, but I needed to change something. So let's look at the energy line on how I got set up. I have Teal Mask and Energy Switch, which was limited applications, but it got the last energy I needed for most things. Crispin and Crystal automatically just won me games. It gave me a great early game, it gave me a great mid game, it gave me great attackers, it was so reliable, and I didn't really need a lot of cards to play the deck anyways. And Glass Trumpet and E-Switch, I didn't fully explore it with the Terrapagos and Blood Moon Ursaluna in order to make sure I had good turn 1 attackers, but I did note that that recovery angle was good, and that I should probably explore that a little bit more, but I didn't have time. I needed a cup win, and I needed it quick. We did not need all of that, and my strong turn 3s that I was looking for always needed items with that deck, because you either Wellspring, shuffle your energy in, I have nothing on forward, nothing in discard, I can't do anything, I need another Crispin, but I can't guarantee it. Or I need Trumpet in late game, and I can't guarantee it because I'm item locked for some reason. Or when I am trying to do something that needs to attack, I need 1 extra energy that I just cannot find. And so I should have explored with Blood Moon or Terrapagos more, but because I didn't, I needed to move on quick. It didn't need to be that complicated. We moved on to Noctowl. Fan Rotom. Oh my goodness, this card is ridiculous. I ran 9 basic search cards in my final list for Fan Rotom Craziness Terra Box. And if you find Fan Rotom, it finds Ditto, which will find any basic Pokemon, including your Wellspring, your Terra Pokemon, anything, and it'll get you a Noctowl for next turn for Crystal Crispin. Count me in. This one card single-handedly gave me everything I need for a great turn 1 and fulfills my 2 top conditions of being really consistent and really good at making targeted removal work. So this is the cup deck list I ended up going with. The source is Cali White. I'm going to be honest, I don't like net decking, but the list was a little bit too good to pass up, and you will see many lists that are very similar. The one change that I did is I cut Brock's Scouting for a Buddy Poffin, because I found my turn 1s to be a little bit too weak if I couldn't get Fan Rotom, and I didn't find that Budew really affected me as long as I found a Noctowl. So as long as I can guarantee a Fan Rotom, get out a bunch of Hoot Hoot, and grab a single Noctowl, I pretty much had anything I wanted for the rest of the game. I also ran 3 Boss's Orders, because again, targeted removal is really good. The Terrapagos and Blood Moon are finally in the list. I'm adding back the Psychics, because Lillie's Clefairy is genuinely a little bit ridiculous. Being able to do that really cheap attack for high damage is good, especially into your tank Terrapagos matchup. And I didn't run Carnivine, I didn't run Tropius, because walls fell off the face of the earth prior to the weekend that I played this, which is when Wall Blissey became a deck, and now suddenly people are running Giraffe again. I'll get into some future notes for this deck list later, but the summary is you had answers for everything as long as you could find Noctowl, and that was my consistency to a T that I was looking for. Let's talk about the cup run. Right, are you ready for this? Game 1, Gardevoir, Zoroark. Turn 2, Wellspring. Turn 3, Wellspring. Turn 4, Wellspring. Good game. Going on to Game 2, I face the Genesect Dragapult deck. The pure Pult list, the one that is reliable and consistent, and is just aimed to lock you down. Turn 1, Genesect, Air Balloon, Triple Dreepy, pass. I missed my turn 1 attach, and after 30 minutes I just couldn't come back and I didn't have the speed to do it. So, I did end up losing that game. I am 1-1. We were told there were 6 rounds in cut after a lot of confusing gameplay and whatnot. For some reason, they are claiming that Tom removed a round from the tournament structure. For that reason, I am not going to explain where the cup was, and I am not going to be advertising the cup, because it is currently getting a bit of work done to try and figure out what happened on the back end on Pokemon's end. However, I mean that in my eyes, I had to win 3 games and then tie my last one, 4-1-1, top cut, top 8. So, I played out all the rest of my games. In the first game, after my loss, I go against Goldango. Alright, Goldango Scizor, pretty tough. Wellspring, good game. So now I'm 2-1. Now that I'm 2-1, I go against the Terra Box, the exact same 60 that I am using, almost. They have the Brock Scouting in there. They still did not run Volcanion, which is a popular choice now that I'll talk about later. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I Pikachu'd harder than them. And because I Pikachu'd first, I won. So with that being said, moving on to the final game of Swiss, I'm against Tank Bouffalot, and this time things get a little bit wonkier, where I have to do some specific positioning with a Crown Opal turn on a couple of turns into a Wellspring that knocks out the Noctowl, an evolved colorless Pokemon that is not tanked by Terapagos, and just more chip on the active Terapagos, and a couple of weird maneuvering things and them not hitting enough Crispins in order to keep pace with me. I ended up coming away with win that game, and that set me very firmly into one of the top seeds of top 8. Round 1 in top 8, I go against Joltik Box. Game 1, I'm gonna be honest, I started Noctowl 6 Energy, something similar. Draw, pass, opponent attaches to Joltik, bench Iron Hands, load up all the energy. I respond with a draw, bench Mew, attach, and triple stab. Flip with the first coin as tails, I scoop up game 2. Game 2, I used Sob a lot. I used Sob probably about maybe 11 or 12 times in order to chip down a Pikachu, in order to chip down a Latias, in order to take a 4-prize turn and have my own Pikachu take another turn. That got me to the end game, and in game 3, I Crown Opaled most of my way. They did run Iron Bundle, and they did run Boss, but they never met the hand at the same time. I'm very thankful for that, but I did have a 1-prize advantage by the time time was called, after I had already won on the very first turn of time. So I don't think that I really would have had too many issues in the long run. Plus, Terra Box is known for taking that turn 1 knockout. If we go to sudden death, I'm pretty sure I'm able to lock out that game anyways. So I wasn't too worried. Then I get to top 4, and I sit down across someone who is sitting right next to me the entire tournament on Frostlass Blood Moon. I've heard people call the deck Arctic Monkeys, and I think that's hilarious. So, for this sake, I'm calling it Arctic Monkeys. How in the world did I place against that? Well, it turns out Noctowl is very good compared to Blissey at chaining attacks, because you can always find Crispins or energies or way to cheat things out. And game 1, I just had a lot of good Wellsprings, and on the last turn of the game, I had a very, very well-timed Kieran plus Terapagos with a full bench to hit Blood Moon for knockout. Whatever, we'll take it. Game 2, it was pretty quick, I'm gonna be honest. It was a draw pass, a lot of draw passing on both of our parts, really. We got to around the 3-prize range. I still had 6 prizes. I wasn't really able to establish anything, and I was like, okay, I'll scoop it up really quick. Game 3, Wellspring, time was called at a certain point, and then I just sob, and were able to lock that up. All is well. So, we go into Grand Finals, and I'm against the same Pult player that I faced in Round 2. This player has not lost a game this tournament yet. So, time to do my best. Game 1, Wellspring, Fan Rotom, Lillie's Clefairy. We're good. The next game, a little harder. They're able to get out their Genesect nice and quickly. I'm not able to get a big Wellspring knockout. What I'm instead able to do, however, is Fan Rotom. And then Boss and Fan Rotom. And then Lillie's Clefairy. And then swing for some amount of big damage, followed by a Gust and a knockout. I think? No, I didn't do a Gust and a knockout. I did something more funny, almost. I did a Gust and a Sob. Into their Fez, they had so far used 3 Luminous Energy, 2 Psychic Energy, 1 Fire Energy, and 1 Dark Energy. I noticed that they did not have enough energy to use Fezandipiti's Cruel Arrow, so I boss up the Fezandipiti, sob, and I'm like, okay, this is working out well. Their Munkidori does not have any energy on it because I knocked out the Munkidori with energy, and they had to burn their recovery early in the game. Sob. They are at 200 HP with 0 cards in deck. By exactly 20 damage, when I was at 3 prizes and they were at 2, I was able to deck them out. They had burned all of their Ionos, they had burned all of their recovery, they had no energy left to Cruel Arrow me, and I won a League Cup. I am really proud of having won a League Cup. It has been since, oh my goodness, I want to say 2017, where it would have been, funnily enough, I'm pretty sure it would have been, who would it have been? It would have been a long time ago, that's the point. But I won a lot of packs and I did well. I won a cup with, I think it was 30 plus masters, and a very complicated Swiss structure, but we got there. But yeah, we made it. I had one since the Ultra Beast era for a cup. It felt nice to be there again. And finally, I had my Ace Trainer. So let's go over some quick takeaways. Just really quick. I know this is starting to get long. I'm going to start to wrap it up. We have Carnivine. That is a 130 damage grass type that ignore the text on it. It's 130 damage. As long as you get 3 energy on it, that knocks out Fur Giraffe. It knocks out your Bravery Charm Cornerstone. You don't really have great answers for Bravery Charm Cornerstone. You do have great answers for regular Cornerstone. You just one-shot it with a Trapagos, but if they get up to 260 HP, they can start Turrowing, and that's not very fun. Tapu Koko EX is great for Milotic. You can think about it, you already run the Lightning Energy, so you're fine. Cornerstone Ogerpon, I know I skipped Volcanion, I'll get back to it. Cornerstone Ogerpon, it's just good. It's a wall that beats a lot of the meta outright, just because it is the ability, prevents damage into it by abilities. It's just really good. Teal Mask Ogerpon, running a second one is very nice if you prize it and you can't find your crystal multiple times or they Genesect you. It makes Pult a bit more consistent. Switch, it would be nice, but then again, the main reason that you run Kieran, other than the damage amp, is in order to switch out while under Badoo Lock with a Noctowl inactive and no energy in hand. So I'm like, you know what? Yep, that's okay. I will run Kieran still. I still do not regret it. I think that that card is broken. One Countercatcher would have been nice in a couple of different spots where I am slightly behind and I want a Wellspring to completely wipe a field in the mirror, but 3 Boss is consistent, and consistency is key. Defiance Band, also number fixing. Do you need it? No. Volcanion is a better way to fix numbers. People have been cutting an Ultra Ball for Volcanion recently from this 60. The reason being is because if you do burn damage, you are able to take a knockout between turns, denies Fezandipiti, denies Unfair Stamp, and it also just makes you hit a lot more damage ranges. For example, with your Trapagos, you hit that knockout range on Cornerstone Ogerpon with the Bravery Charm, and you can hit a lot of easier numbers into things like Blood Moon with your own Blood Moon. So it's a nice inclusion. I wouldn't really cut an Ultra Ball for it because you really need Fan Rotom in early game, but it is something that would have really helped me on my run, and I do think I should have thought about running it. Um, but yeah, there's still another thing to be said though. Whilst you are better against Badu with Noctowls and your Ditto and Fan Rotom, and you are better against Ionos and things like that with your Blissey and whatnot, you are still very vulnerable to the opposite one depending on what you're playing. With Noctowls, if you get unfair stamped on turn 2 or turn 3, you cannot play the game most of the time. A lot of people have been starting to run things like Pidgeot EX in order to counteract that, or a draw engine that is consistent, or a search engine that you can always use no matter what, that has activated every single turn instead of on play. And I think that is a great idea to keep your engine consistent, so something to think about. And on the side of Blissey, just going up to 4 Crispin and running low energy cost attackers is a great way to counteract the Badu, or even just running a Fan Rotom even though you have no targets for it, just because 70 damage is such a good number to hit. With that, we're almost at the end. I got my Ace Trainer. I won a cup. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's been so long for me. So let's talk about how I got there real quick. I'm just going to run through it. In top 8 of a cup in summer and top 4 in a challenge in July, I was playing Palkia Raging Bolt. This would have been just, I'm going to say a little after Teal Mask's legality, but I actually do not remember. I'm going to be honest with you, it's very hazy in my mind. But I loved playing Palkia Raging Bolt. I played it with 2 Crispin, I played a 1-2 Palkia line. It was very different to the list that Cyrus Davis would have been using at the time, or, I don't know, Ethan Graham, Camille Badinsky. There's a couple of other really good Canadian players who were trying out Palkbolt. My list was a little bit more in the aggro direction and very prioritizing the spread damage or just consistent chains of attacks. So I did pretty well with that, all things considered. I'm pretty sure in the cup I actually would have lost to Regidrago, which means that Teal Mask would have been legal by then. But I did pretty good for Palkbolt. I'm okay with that. I got a top 4 in a challenge in August with Fire Goldango. If you want to see more about that list, you can go and watch my Guide to Rogue video, where at the end I go through 3 different Goldango deck lists, how I got points with every single type paired with Goldango. In that same challenge, I also got, or in a different challenge, but same video, I also talk about Palkia Goldango without Iridas, with a Mew EX, and with a couple of really weird choices being made. For example, no Manaphy, instead running a TM Evo in order to dodge the spread damage from the Palkia decks that were going around at the time. Lots of cool things there, and I think I did it pretty good justice. My only loss that tournament would have been to a Charizard where I prized 3 SCRs. Oh well. Then we get to Toronto Regionals. It was my only regional I was planned to go to. I was 5-2-1 going into my last round, pair against Charizard Terapagos, and I was 1 card in the last game of Game 3 away from hitting my full combo off of an Iono to take the knockout on the final Charizard. Pretty tragic, but it's okay. I got 40 points from that. I also donked 4 people into a top 4 cut at my locals, one of which being Rowan Stavinow, another one of which being Adam Kalmat, 2 very high profile players who were both on Gardevoir at the time, so I'm very proud of that performance. I also have 2 different Pink Terra Club performances, one with Tropius, one with the Psychic. Unfortunately, with the one list with the Psychic, I was just a little bit too slow against, of all decks, I'm pretty sure it was Zoroark. They were just able to do some crazy stuff, and I wasn't quite able to combo to a one-shot enough times. They had their Reshiram. They were just able to wipe me out. Unfortunate, but it happens. The Tropius list, similar thing happened, but it was against Dragapult. I just couldn't draw anything. And I had my cup win with Terrabox. That puts me at 40 regional points, 40 challenge points, 132 cup points, and that is my Ace Trainer qualification. With a cup conversion rate of 53.8, it would be a bit higher if I didn't keep going to cups after I got my Ace Trainer, playing meme deck lists, like Kofu, which, yes, is a meme deck list, even though I really pride myself in how good that deck turned out. So, I just had to take a step back and reflect on how I got to my ace trainer today. So yeah, Blissey taught me Terra Box a little bit. I'll talk about that a little bit, just really quick. I know we're getting so long. Thank you for sticking with me. But, Blissey, it taught me energy management. It taught me the simple ideas of prioritizing attackers, how good spread is, how good different terror attackers are, how to manage tankiness, how to manage different matchups, starting to learn different matchups with the attacker selection I had. And when I picked up Noctowl, it was really quick to see all of the different lessons I'd learned and how valuable Crispin is, Crystal is, how valuable my different spread attacks are and my different attackers I use for different matchups, how valuable my low energy attackers are. Everything that I learned on Blissey applied to my Noctowl gameplay perfectly, and I was able to walk away with a cut win and my Ace Trainer qualification. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to see more, you can go and follow me on the YouTube. There's also a couple of other apps on the screen. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to censor some of the names of them in order to make sure I don't get, like, weird stuff happening to the video, but that is okay. All links are going to be in the descriptions, including the slideshow for this video. And yeah, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have any ideas on other content that you would like to see me produce, you can go and reach out to me through the comment section, join the Discord, or even on Twitter or wherever. Just send me a message. I'll see if I can make something work for you. Thank you guys very much for listening. Have a wonderful night, a wonderful Pride Month. Catch you all later. Goodbye.